So let's move right along, guys. So let's talk a little bit about some context of how we're going to work together, okay? We're going to do psychoeducation. Psychoeducation is educating you about your psychology and your neurobiology, okay? Here's why. When we help you understand what's happening in your body and how it operates, it decreases shame. Because it's not you, it's your amygdala. It's not you, that's your sympathetic nervous system. Who follows? This makes sense? So we have to have some psychoeducation so that you can understand what's happening in the body to decrease shame. Then we're going to have experimentation. And what that means is we're not just going to teach you some shit and then go on. We're going to work towards embodying it so you can feel what it feels like based on the education that you just got. And then there'll be some self-regulation because stuff will start to come up and you're going to start to realize, wait a minute, I have some agency and control here. I can do something about how I feel. I don't have to run to I normally run to, pool boy or not, right? Whoever it is or whatever it is, okay? And we're going to have co-regulation, okay? And this is a really awesome mix right here, where we have psychoeducation so you understand what's happening, and then you have experimentation so you get a felt sense of it, and then self-regulation to know that, wow, I'm building some agency here, and co-regulation to know I'm not alone, okay? And the goal is, I think, to make that your lifestyle, because that's all I do. Learn some shit, try some shit, and then share some shit. That's about it, right? And so that's how we're going to work together. Now, our aim is embodiment, which means we want to not just have cognitive theory understanding, which is kind of mentalizing things. We want to have exploration, which is somatic, okay? Felt sense of something, right? Because have you ever said, like, well, God, you know, I intellectually understand something, but I'm not doing it. Who's ever said something like that, right? The reason why is you focus heavily on cognitive ability to learn something, but very little on the somatics. And here's the thing about the world right now in mental health worships cognitive behavioral therapy. I love cognitive behavioral therapy, but not as the first go-to because here's the thing. Distortions in thinking tend to come from distortions in affect, meaning the body. So if you're trying to change this without changing this first, you're never going to win because there's 10 times more affect than there is efferent fibers going from the brain down to the body. So if you start with cognitive only, of course you're never going to have it change because it's not felt sense, okay? Also, our aim is to go beyond knowing to feeling. So that means we're going to go from cortical, prefrontal cortex. So cortical in the brain is kind of like that prefrontal cortex top part of the brain up here. And subcortical, what's subcortical? It's right there. So what's the limbic system? That's right. So I'm going to butcher this drawing right now, okay? There's lots of ways to draw a brain, top to bottom, left to right, front and center, all that type of stuff. But essentially, you can kind of think of like this is like the cortical brain, and this is subcortical here, okay? So that's the limbic system and all that stuff here. Now, this includes your amygdala, hippocampus, all that stuff, okay? Thalamus, all that type of stuff. And here's the thing. When you have affect from the body, it goes right here first. It doesn't go to the prefrontal cortex thinking regions. It goes right here. So what we have to do is, if you're learning here in that cortical sense, it's a cognitive understanding, it's a mentalization of something, right? Like think of it this way, right? If you are in the middle of like grief that just started, like just say you lost someone that you love, like right now, right? And I start to explain to you the stages of grief. Is that going to be helpful? No, because you're having a subcortical response, meaning an emotional response, an affective response, okay? And so we want to do both the cortical and subcortical, the mentalizing and the embodiment. And here's the thing. On a neuroscience level, embodiment, as adults, we have to have mentalization or to understand concepts, but we got to get it in the subcortical brain and also the nervous system down here so it becomes eventually a habit that's automatic. And that process is both a top-down process and a bottom-up process. And what that's going to do is it's eventually going to help you turn your nervous system into your ally. But if all you're doing is hanging out in the cortical regions, you can understand all kinds of shit all day long, but never actually embody it. Who knows someone that knows lots of shit but doesn't do it? Anybody? Right? They're really focused on the cortical information, but it's a subcortical that really matters for embodiment. Okay? So is anyone confused by that? If you are, please let me know. It's important to understand. Okay, so if I say subcortical, what does that mean? Typically, just think of it as the emotional side. If I say cortical or mentalized, what does that mean? It's thinking up here. Now, where's the prefrontal cortex? Is it cortical or subcortical? Very good. Now, here's the thing, okay? in trauma, which we'll get to in a second, is trauma a cortical or subcortical experience? Subcortical, okay? Which is why to change, we have to start to activate that prefrontal cortex more, because when you bring cortical, how should I put this? Cortical control to a subcortical response, that's like a parent coming in going, okay, let's try it this way, okay? So the cool thing is that you can absolutely learn how to do that. So one is not better than the other. The goal is to have it functioning as a unit. Who follows? You guys with me on that? Okay. Okay, so our aim is growth. So we want to go from a fixed mindset to, which is I can't change or get smarter, to a growth mindset, which is learning is how I improve. Okay, now here's the thing. Of course, you go, yes, of course I have a growth mindset, Mastin. Of course learning is how I improve. Well, how's this? Have you ever even recently tried something, it didn't work, and beat yourself up? Okay, that means you're hanging in the fixed mindset in that moment, okay? There's a Stanford researcher, Carol Dweck, who has a bunch of new research out on this topic, and I think the next slide. So here's what happens, okay? There's a lot of desire here to look smart, okay? That's what they want. If you're fixed, I have to look smart. Here's one of the things. I don't give a fuck about looking smart. I don't care. I don't care. I care about what? I want to know what I need to know to help you. I don't care how I look. Take that in for 1 second, okay? I don't care about being smart or being perceived as smart. What I care about is, do I have the information that can help you? That's what I care about, okay? But if you're preoccupied with being smart or the best or whatever it might be, when there's a challenge, you tend to avoid it, which means you leave the room, hang out with the pool boy, whatever, okay? Obstacles, when there's an obstacle, it's easy to give up. This is too hard. If I was smart enough, I could get through this, but I guess I'm not, okay? With effort, what they do is they see effort as meaning that you're not smart enough. So if I have to try, means I must not get this, so I have to stop, okay? And also criticism, they take it personal and they ignore it, or they put it as negative feedback only, okay? And when there's success from other people, it's like, oh my God, they're so amazing, they're so smart, you assign all this value to them. So in this fixed mindset, this is what happens, okay? Now, okay, what happens is there's tons of plateaus here and you never live up to your full potential. And what's interesting is a lot of this mindset started with the IQ test. And the IQ test was designed, as I said yesterday, to find gaps in the educational system, not to say this person's smart, this person isn't smart, right? And so the goal to understand is your potential fixed? Is your levels of intelligence, are they static? Can they change, yes or no? Of course they can. But is there a part of you that thinks maybe that's not true? What do you think? For sure. And of course there's parts of you that believe both of these things, but when we get in the shit, when the challenges come up, when we're in that fixed mindset, which is stuck, okay, because mental health is about how much mental flexibility you have, okay? That's really what it is, okay? When you don't have good mental health, you're stuck in one sort of emotional state, right? But when you have good mental health, you can be very flexible in those things. When we get challenged, triggered, or obstacles come up, we go right back into that kind of immobilized place, okay? Now, on the growth mindset side, okay, what happens is there's a desire to learn, and that's what starts. So for me, and when I saw this, I was like, oh, that makes sense for me, because I've always been that way. I was raised by scientists, right? So I love learning, and the thing is, whenever I fuck up, I'm not like, oh, I'm so stupid. When I fuck up, I go, I just learned something, right? And it can be really hard depending on how intense the lesson is, right? But no matter what, I'm always, always, always learning, and when you have a true desire to learn, what happens is you look at challenges and you embrace them as like, this is a chance to fucking learn about myself. Holy shit, right? Because if I can learn about myself, what does that mean? You can improve what? Intelligence. What else? Resilience. What else? Impact. What else? Consistency. What? Say what? You can build new neural pathways for sure. But if you embrace challenges as an opportunity to learn, I was thinking you could improve your financial situation. I was thinking you could improve your relationships. What do you guys think? Yeah, when the shit hits the fan, realize that the goal is fertilizer. How do I make fertilizer out of this? Okay, that's the goal. Okay, and guess what? The shit is always hitting, the fan has never been clean in anybody's life, right? The shit hit the fan is like, well, what was it before? Was it clean before? No, who was always having some shit hit the fan anywhere? Let me see by show of hands. Everybody, right? So just assume the shit's gonna hit the fan and become a fertilizer expert, okay? That's the goal, okay? Also, when there's setbacks, if you have that growth mindset, setbacks are unidentified lessons. So, as an example, my mindset on my foot isn't, oh my God, I'm getting older. What do you think my mindset might be? Well, definitely don't fucking do batting practice in sandals ever again. Yes, 100%. And my mindset is, I am going to become a master of the anatomy of feet and calves. I'm going to figure this shit out and unfuck myself. That's what I'm going to do. And then later, I'm going to know, wow, I can actually stand like this, I can do this, and okay, don't do that dorsiflexion right now, and oh my God, the arteries and the veins run right through the soleus of the back of the calf right here, so that shit's tight. Of course, you're going to hold inflammation and all kinds of fluid in your foot, and it's going to be throbbing and stuff like that, so make sure your calves are relaxed and all that type of stuff. I'm going to know those things, so next time, I can repair faster. Who follows? Right? It's not I'm getting older. No, I just did dumb something. I did a stupid thing. I did a dumb shit. That's what I did, okay? And I'm fixing it, okay? Also, okay, criticism is a chance to learn, even from the assholes, right? When I put myself out there on social media, right, if someone kind of does a clap back, I look at myself and go, is there anything that's true about this, or is this person maybe just not as educated as they should be, right? But there's always opportunity to learn through criticism, because why would someone, for the most part, offer criticism towards you? Think about this. Anyone have a critical parent? Nobody in the room has a critical, anyone have a fucking critical ass parent? Okay, why do you think they criticize you? Defense, it is a way of making you better. Well, God damn it, you didn't do this. And what happens is we take that shit on, oh my God, and we use it as evidence of not enough. Now, I'm not saying you should just be around negative criticism, but especially positive feedback or criticism, like constructive criticism is so valuable, and we don't want you to be so fragile that you miss the gold in it, okay? And that's the value of the growth mindset. Okay, and then also what happens right here is that when you see other people doing something else, you have the opportunity to use them as an example of what to do if they're achieving something larger than you. Because success leaves clues. Now here's the thing, we don't have the same history, the same background. There's a lot of bias based on culture and gender and all that type of stuff. And at the same time, what builds a neural pathway, a big part of it is myelin. Myelin doesn't care if you're black or white, doesn't care if you're male or female. If you do certain things, you'll build more myelin, you'll have more habits, and you'll be able to do things more automatically, okay? And so we want to start to realize that whatever somebody else is doing has nothing to do with who they are, and has everything to do with what their mindset is, and based on that, what their what is. Beliefs, but they're taking specific sets of action, sequencing, certain things in a certain order. Okay? When we get the right sequence of something down and we practice the sequence and we detach from the outcome, everything starts to shift. Okay? And the cool thing is to know is that resilience is the key. Resilience is the name of the game. And the way that you build resilience is how? Is it a cortical or subcortical process? It's a little bit of both, but primarily subcortical, meaning it's a felt sense to get through things. Okay? Who's ever been through the worst and you got through it and you felt like actually more empowered afterwards? Anybody? Why? That's right. In post-traumatic stress, we go, oh my fucking God, that was terrifying. And maybe it was. Post-traumatic growth, we go, and I lived. Like I got through that, right? And when we look at how people can make the transfer from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth, a big piece of that puzzle is to realize I lived. Whatever trauma you've been through, you made it. How cool is that? All that shit and you still fucking lived. You are some of the most badass, resilient motherfuckers I know. We got one person that's happy about that. Everyone else is still questioning, I don't know, Mastin. You might just be full of some, you're just blowing smoke up my ass, right? You are some badass, resilient people. You fucking made it. In fact, just look left and right for a second and go, you fucking made it? Through all that, and you're here. Okay, what are the odds? All right, so Hawkins has a great quote. He says, handling an emotional crisis leads to greater wisdom and results in lifetime benefit. So I'm not saying that you always got to be going through something, okay, but when you're going through something where there's a setback, things aren't going the way that you want them to go, that's when the muscle, the emotional resilience is being built. okay? And it's really, fear of life is really the fear of emotion. Think about that for a second. So, fear of life is fear of emotion. Think about this. Why are you afraid of what you're afraid of? It's about the feeling. And where's the feeling? Is it in the snake or the spider or the bank account or the person or the money? Or where is it? It's here, which is why interoception is so fucking huge. Because you can go there and go, hi, what's going on in here? And when you befriend that part of yourself, it has amazing information for you. And then if you get more into that growth mindset, you can cultivate and learn instead of realizing, well, this proves I'm a piece of shit. Because the parts of ourselves that we exile, the parts of ourselves we push away or dissociate from, when we befriend them, they have so much wisdom in there. And our goal is to realize that we have to start to integrate that, okay? So the fear of life is the fear of emotion. So it's not the facts that we fear, but our feelings about them. And Hawkins says once we have mastery over our feelings, our fear of life diminishes. And what we'll start to learn about trauma is people who are activated by their trauma are primarily emotional or cognitive. Emotional. And you don't even know you're in it. You just, this is how it is. And you don't even know it started. You don't even know where it came from. It's just right here, and it's always on. So you just think that's how life is. But that's not how life is, okay?